Hey, what's up, everybody? I wanted to do a video, I guess, for two reasons. One being, I want to say thank you, and then second being, I got some really fantastic news yesterday, which has really taken a lot of stress off of my shoulders, and I'll get into that in a second. But first, I just want to say thank you to all of the kind people, mostly on TikTok. I've got quite a lot of comments on TikTok, and I'll be posting this video to YouTube and TikTok. I've been doing that with most of my videos, just that way I can reach like different audiences. Even though it's the same video, I know that's like very low effort, but I don't know. It's just I've noticed a little different of a audience, and I'm very appreciative of people that watch my videos on YouTube. I'm very appreciative of people that watch them on TikTok. I did get a nice comment on YouTube from somebody, a very encouraging and supportive comments with some good suggestions. But I especially got lots of fantastic supportive comments on TikTok on the video I posted last time, talking about kind of feeling, experiencing feelings of feeling like a failure, and like I'm not doing enough. I've been really stagnant in my growth. And I also forgot to kind of mention in that video too, like I try to remind myself that and what others pointed out in their comments, a lot of times this is just like temporary, or it's like transient. It's like some days we're gonna have some days aren't gonna be as good as other days. Not just like externally, like events happen in our life, but internally, like just how we feel. Like sometimes you just feel off for no reason. It's like you've been eating well, taking care of yourself, sleeping well, and you still feel off, and vice versa. Sometimes it's like your self-care has maybe been could use some improvement, and but you're just wake up in a fantastic mood. Yeah, I try to remind myself of that, and I am feeling better, especially after the comments. I'm not posting those videos to for validation or for sympathy or support, but I want to be real with you guys. I don't want to just make videos of me of things going well. I want to show you both the good things in my life and good things in my recovery, and then some challenges that I experienced in my recovery as well. Especially since with social media, it just seems like most of what people post is just good stuff, and so you see this ideal life that they're living, oh my god, they have everything, and you don't really get to see their challenges behind the screen. So that's mostly why, and also I just like talking about my feelings. It's helpful. But regardless of all that, yeah, I'm just very thankful for all the kind people in the comments. Thank you very much. It does mean a lot to me. And yeah, hopefully that video, it seems like other people were could relate to the feeling as well. So it's nice to feel like I'm not alone in that regard either. It's just kind of more of a symptom of being human, I suppose. So secondly, the great news that I received yesterday, and I talked about this in my video, talking about my feelings of, like a failure, and my frustration with my probation officer asking me for discharge paperwork. So I don't know why exactly. I didn't expect it to happen for at least a few more years. I thought I was on probation for 5 years, and it's only been just about 3. But I got an email. So I did reach out to my therapist. She was able to, and I haven't seen my therapist since fall of last year. So that's also why I was frustrated. It's just bro, of course you haven't gotten any updates. I've stopped counseling. I haven't gone to treatment for counseling for several months. It's but I was able to reach out to my therapist, and she was understanding, my counselor, and I let her know what's going on, and she was able to send paperwork indicating that we, had finished my treatment. I had completed and successfully moved on. And so she sent that to him yesterday. And later in the day, I got an email from him, and he said that my probation was completed, which is like super fantastic. It's great news. But like I'm confused as to why. Like I said, I thought I was on probation for longer. And I know sometimes, they can grant like an early release of probation, but like my understanding is like, because I'm subscribed to this probation subreddit. I like to read other people's stories with probation. Um, and that is something like early release is a thing, but it's like something that you have to like ask for, and like it has to be like submitted. I did none of that. But somehow I guess my probation officer deemed like I had met all my conditions of my probation, and I was being discharged from probation. My case was closed. So that's really great. It doesn't change too much in my day-to-day life. Like, I started off on supervised probation, so I would go check in with a probation officer, a different one, every month, do a UA, and then, just do that for months. And then eventually I started working as a recovery coach enough to where I was like less of a risk, like on the risk assessment, and I got moved to unsupervised probation, which is what I've been on with this probation officer. And of course, I've never had any violations. I haven't gotten in any legal trouble. I didn't have to ever check in, and I never had to UA. So that was nice. So it's like, it felt like I wasn't on probation anyways, at least compared to like being on supervised. But it's still nice to be off because, one thing I was worried about, and I've been thinking about this, I know it sounds kind of lame. Back when I got my DUI, I had caused damage to a parking structure in my apartment complex, and that also caused damage to somebody's car. Now, I've been very removed from like my case, or at least like the inner workings. My understanding when I was like sentenced was that I had to pay, at least when I was initially like arraigned on the DUI. My understanding was I was supposed to pay restitution in the amount of like $9,000, like $8,000 being damages to the car, and then like $1,000 being to the parking structure. And so that had been hanging over my head for quite a long time. But what I think happened was, so when I got the DUI, and like, my car hit the parking structure and hit their car, my insurance had lapsed, so I didn't have insurance cover it, but the other person did have insurance, and they covered it. And then through their insurance company, and then that was quickly written off into collections, and then was sent to a collections agency, and they reached out to me and like tried to get the amount. I don't know if I talked about too much, but in December 2020, I filed for bankruptcy just because I'd lost my job. I'd racked up like tens of thousands of dollars of debt with credit cards and whatnot because of the nitrous oxide addiction. And so fortunately, I was able to file for bankruptcy, and on the bankruptcy form, because it was considered like a collections debt, I put that amount on there. And my guess of what had happened, because I hadn't heard anything about restitution like since my like arraignment, like since my case first happened. So my guess, but I didn't know for sure, but my guess was that it was, I didn't have to pay restitution because that person's insurance like covered their stuff and covered the parking structure damage. And then they just wrote it off to collections, and then they would have the collections get the money from me versus me paying restitution directly to that person and directly to the apartment complex, if that makes sense. Which would have been a nightmare because it's like, I can't imagine how much I would have had to work, like extra, like, and I know it's shitty. Like, I feel bad, like, because it's like, yeah, I caused those damages. Those were my actions. Like, I did that, and that was a consequence. And it's like, so it's like, yeah, I was due to pay, but it's like, it's just the amount of time that would have taken for me to like have to like work, um, all that time that would have taken out of my recovery, and time that I spent, like volunteering at the recovery cafe, and spent time I spent getting my recovery coach certification and my certified peer counseling certification, and working as a recovery coach and like building my skills, and being able to work out and like just focus on my recovery. So I'm really grateful. Again, I feel bad, but I'm incredibly grateful. And now that my case is closed, I know for sure that's why it's a big stress off my shoulders. I know for sure that I don't have to worry about paying any of that money. And like I said, my guess is that's what happened. Their insurance covered it, and then since it was sent to collections, but I filed for bankruptcy, that was all written off. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. Yeah, I do feel bad. But I guess the way I see it is like, I just will, I guess, kind of pay it forward, so to speak. Just continuing to like focus on my recovery, be the best, be it like have the strongest foundation in recovery as I can, and not relapse, not go back to that lifestyle again. And put other people at risk of similar situations happening, but also being strong in my recovery, hopefully helping other people. I know it's not quite the same as like paying the monetary damages, but at the very least, like, I can try to at least live the best life I can and do the best I can in my life moving forward, as a way to like show my appreciation, or just make up for the fact that I didn't have to pay. So yeah, that's a huge stress relief, not having to worry about that. Because I still, even though I assume that's what happened, I still occasionally would worry about it and just be like, how am I going to pay like almost 10 grand? Like, I can barely afford rent. I can barely afford $500 a month in rent. How am I going to do that? So that's really awesome. Evan, I'm also just really grateful too. So because of my, what do they call it? When you're, indigent, I believe that's the word. That's the word like the courts use, like indigent. Like, because I was so poor, they had wrote, part of my probation requirements, was that I did not have to pay any of the usual like probation fees or fines, which is great, because if that was the case, the 3 years I've been on probation, that would have been probably several $1,000s, and then like other miscellaneous fees and stuff that I was able to get wiped clean, because again of my income status. So yeah, I would have had to pay like several $1,000s in fees on top of the restitution. And so I'm also really grateful, especially now that the case is closed, and I know for sure, I'm so grateful I did not have to pay any amount of money. And I think to myself like, oh, I'm so lucky, but like honestly, I feel like it's more than like luck. Like, I feel blessed. I really do feel blessed. And it's like, I know everyone has like different perspectives, like in terms of like higher power and like God and stuff like that, or like higher forces in the universe. And I know it sounds a little tacky, but honestly, I really do feel blessed. Like, I really feel like it's like not just good luck. Like, I've been blessed, and I've been very fortunate to not have to pay that restitution and not have to pay those probation fines. Because otherwise, from what I read, I would have had to continue probation until all that stuff was paid off. So the fact that after my probation officer got that discharge paperwork from my treatment, closed out my case, like now I know for sure, like I don't have to worry about any of that. And that's like a huge stress off my shoulders. And yeah, I'm just so incredibly grateful that I don't have to worry about paying off like 12 to 1400, no, not 100, 12 to $14,000 Because again, it's like, you know, since I don't have a car, it's like the logistics of like working full time and like having to take a bus and like find a job that like falls within the hours that the bus runs. I mean, it would consume my whole day. Every day I worked, it would probably consume most of my day, you know, like getting to the bus, taking the bus, getting to work, working, and then, you know, after work, getting to the bus, taking the bus, and then walking back. And that would leave very little time for me to, um, if any, work out. So I would lose that, and that's been a really big staple of my recovery. And then also, you know, I may not have been able to do the education or like the certifications that I got in terms of, you know, recovery coaching and peer counseling. You know, I might not have had as much time to like make videos. You know, I might have like poured all my effort into that so I could pay all that off. I might not have even started my YouTube channel. And like made videos talking about my experience with like nerve damage and nitrous oxide that has, you know, other people I've seen and have, you know, commented that has helped them. So yeah, I'm just very, very blessed and very fortunate that I don't have to worry about that. Like, I know not everyone gets that opportunity. Um, you know, like, yeah, most of the people I read, like, you know, again, on the probation subreddit, like, have to pay like tons of money for their fines and fees and everything. And that consumes a lot of their time just getting that money to do that. And yeah, I haven't really heard of anyone like not paying any fees or fines. So it's like, I wouldn't say like I'm probably like the only one, but it sounds like that's not a very common occurrence. And the way, again, the restitution worked out, you know, I'm also very fortunate, very blessed in that regard. Um, so yeah, that's great news. That takes a whole bunch of stress off my shoulders, and now I finally can put all that behind me, which is great. And now, you know, I can like use I have like more mental resources like available now to, you know, like work on my recovery and like, you know, accomplish some of the goals I like, you know, talked about wanting to do, or try to make like a bigger impact and help more people. You know, I can spend more mental faculties on that, now that I don't have to worry about that. So super stoked about that. So yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Today, like, I had a really good chest workout. Got some really good deals on some perfect bars, so got a bunch of those. I'm gonna try to moderate. I really need to start disciplining myself and like, you know, because I don't think it's like sustainable long term to like just not buy any snacks. I really need to be able to start getting good at having food on hand and not consuming all of it. Um, because I think it's nice to like be able to buy something like a box of perfect bars and like eat one and then like every day, and like so you can have one over, you know, every day for 4 days, and like that's a nice treat versus like feeling like compelled to eat the whole box just because you have it. And this is like a tangent. I'm gonna wrap the video up in just a little bit, but I'm just saying like, you know, so I'm stoked about that. I have like a really good dinner I'm gonna make. I'm really stoked about that. I also I just checked. I did hit 400 subscribers on YouTube, which is super awesome. So I might make a video later today. If not today, probably tomorrow or something. Because it's already like 4:20 p.m. right now. But yeah, it's like, so I'm doing pretty well. Slept well last night. Good workout. Got good food. Don't have to worry about probation. So many wonderful people sharing love and support online. You know, it's just, that's super awesome. Hit that 400 subscriber milestone on YouTube. Getting a decent amount of followers on TikTok, which I'm very grateful for as well. So yeah, things are going well, and you know, hopefully, yeah, you know, I can keep this momentum up and like start just I guess leveraging like all this good stuff to like do better stuff, if that makes sense. So yeah, so thank you guys again for everyone watching and for all your kind comments on both platforms. That really means a lot to me. Thank you. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Even if you watch and don't comment or don't like or subscribe, I really appreciate your viewership. And I don't know, hopefully it's nice like hearing somebody talk about being real with like their ups and downs with their their recovery and their life, and not just sugarcoating or like pretending everything is like fantastic when sometimes it's not so fantastic. So yeah, thank you guys, and yeah, be on the lookout. I'm only gonna post the subscriber video to YouTube because it doesn't make sense to post it on TikTok. So but hopefully I'll be making some more content that I'll be able to post on both platforms. So be on the lookout for that. And I'll see you guys next time.